evening or good morning, depending upon where you're at. Welcome to day 4 of the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle. This is Chris Kendall. I'm excited to bring you another interview with one of the bundle creators. In fact, Jung Soo has created 2 books for the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle. Between her 2 books and my book, it basically hits that price to get all 36 filled with ebooks and courses and so much more. We'll get into that. You can get it in the link here. I'm going to pin both of our links here so you can grab that. Check out the bundle if you haven't. I highly recommend it. And without further ado, we're going to bring on Jung Soo, aka Bear with Girl. Today we're going into natural healing and the power of mindset. Hey, Jung Soo. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy the interview and just fun banter back and forth with us today. If you have any questions at all on this topic, just let me know. Hello, Swellbeing. Good to see you. It is 8 a.m. here in Sweden, and admittedly, I didn't get to bed till after 2 last night, so I'm a little bit tired. So the synapses might not click quite as fast as they normally do, but we're going to do our best. Continue chugging along as we do, right? And Jung Soo is one of my favorite peoples to speak on here with. What's going on? How you doing?
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm tired. I'll admit I'm quite tired, but I'm doing very good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome.
I know you've been very busy promoting the bundle. It's very exciting, but I have to admit, I'm just going to admit this right up front, that compared to the previous 2 rounds of the bundle, I'm far less prepared today. I haven't actually had a chance to look at all of the wonderful material in the bundle, but that's great because we can talk about it.
Absolutely. And you know what I mean? I would. Somebody was saying hi from London below. You're in Hong Kong?
Hong Kong, yes.
Yep. And I'm in Sweden, so we're representing a good crew, you know, a good stage of the world, and a bunch of people here. I bet you're from America. If you guys want to share where you're from. But you know what? I was just gonna say, like, I don't think you're alone. I mean, obviously, since I'm one of the bundle organizers, I have went through all the books, but not as deeply as I would like to be very, very honest. You know, like, I haven't had a chance to go into all the courses. Some of them, mind you, didn't launch until the first. You weren't able to access them. But I think just in general, just from, like, you know, talking to a lot of people and consulting people, in these days and times, I think a lot of people are a little bit behind in more than a few things. If anyone else is feeling the same kind of vibe, you know, like, let me know. Oh, Maui, that's fun. Let us know in the comments there. But yeah, I don't think you're alone. Yeah, we got a Maui in the house. What time is it in Maui? Oh, U.S. So you're probably then East Coast Brett music too, because otherwise I think it's 11. Yeah, you've got to be East Coast. But yeah, I don't think you're alone in the Twilight Zone.
Opposite.
Yeah.
I'm the exact opposite of Brett because it's 2 p.m. here.
Yeah.
So we're like on the opposite ends of the earth.
That's so wild. That's so wild. Yeah, it's kind of the concept of time and this crazy sun going around and all this stuff. It's pretty crazy. We might even stir up some controversy in the comments just by saying that. You know, you never know these days.
That is true. That is true.
So we do have a really fun topic today to go into natural healing, the power mindset, which I think it's huge. I mean, I've definitely, even myself, been in a situation where I've been eating a really good diet, but not been thriving nearly as much as I could. And some mindset shifts have made all the difference. And I've seen that in people. I've seen people eating like the healthiest diet, but have a, you know, maybe a dark and dismal, downcast kind of perspective. And it can shape your life, you know. It's pretty crazy. But
so
what aspect, actually, you know what? Before we get into that, just in case some people haven't seen you here before, because I know I had you on last time, but can you share a little bit about yourself? What got you interested in more natural healing and raw food and raw food lifestyle?
That's a really good question. Well, just to introduce myself, my name is Jung Soo. I am Korean. I was born and raised in Hong Kong, and I grew up eating, you know, standard meals, you know, in a Korean household. We ate lots of kimchi, but with lots of salt, very salty. And And then as I grew older, food just became much more cheap. I distinctly remember when I was younger, we didn't eat that much meat.
Yeah.
But then going into my teens, everything just seemed cheaper, like fast food, and even just eating out at restaurants became like a regular thing. Whereas it hadn't been when I was a child. So, and then when I started working, everything was so convenient. So I just picked things up at the store, microwave meals, whatever, or I ate out at restaurants. And I thought I was healthy.
Yeah.
I didn't know any different. And whatever, maladies that I had, everybody else seemed to have it too.
Yeah.
Like I would get sick every flu season. Not the flu, but I would catch colds like 3 or 4 times a year. And that was just normal.
Yeah.
I just accepted that as being normal. And, people who have followed me on Instagram know that I used to have terrible menstrual cramps.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like beyond normal cramps that women suffer. I would actually pass out, just like lose consciousness. And I would even hit my head on the way down. And I had to be taken to the ER a number of times. And, every time they couldn't really do anything for me but give me painkillers and tell me that this is normal. So I didn't know any different. I was just kind of going along. But to answer your question about how I discovered and got into more natural ways of healing, I should also mention about my acne. I had terrible acne. It was really bad, cystic. And I even went on 2 rounds of Accutane, which is a really powerful synthetic form of vitamin A. And it did clear my skin temporarily, but there's all sorts of side effects. But
huge time. That's a powerful medication.
Yeah, and it just came back after I stopped the course of treatment. It came back, and so I went on it for a second round, and I hoped and prayed that it wouldn't do the same thing. But sure enough, it just came back, and it was worse. The acne was worse. Like it became deeper and more painful, and the scarring was, emotionally it was terrible too, because I started just hating myself. And I felt so stuck. But then, so to answer your question, how did I get into the natural stuff? No more options.
Yeah.
I exhausted everything else. Everything that the medical community said would work did not work. So I finally gave up. And, in that moment of despair, there was great liberation as well.
Yeah.
I was like, I've really tried. There's nothing else I can do. So I'm just going to give up. And I did. But I kept looking for answers because, obviously I was in discomfort. I was in pain. Yeah. And I had developed a fibroid, a uterine fibroid. And, I'd read online through some blogs by Korean women. They were saying that eliminating the animal products could help with the pain, the menstrual pain. But I wondered maybe that could help with the fibroid too. I asked the doctor about it, and he said, no, that's just silly. If you cut meat out, you're going to be malnourished, and all
too common of a story, hey?
Exactly. So I was skeptical. And also, in terms of my skin, all of my dermatologists had told me that diet has nothing to do with it. So this was deeply ingrained in me, this kind of thinking, that the food that we eat doesn't affect my skin. That was just what I believed. I just accepted it. It's kind of silly now looking back. Like, I never even tried. But when I had been told, in terms of my fibroid, the doctor told me that I would need surgery, and that was the only way. Like, there was no way out. And I was like, okay, what have I got to lose at this point? I can cut the animal products out. It's probably not going to do anything. I actually didn't think it would do anything. But during my research, I learned about veganism. And which is a different thing from eating plants, right? As we vegans know. So I had always, I'd heard the term vegan, but I just thought that was a health thing. Like, you know, you eat plants and it's, vegetables are good for you, da 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 da. But then I learned about this whole industry that is behind the animal products that come neatly packaged at the supermarket. And we never even give it any thought because we don't see what happens behind the scenes. So, and then I came across people like Gary Yourofsky, and his speech was like
awesome.
I mean, just remembering the first time I watched that speech, I still get shivers. It touched me that deeply. But
is it
the
the best
funny
speech
thing
ever
is,
made? Was it the best
sorry?
speech ever made?
Yeah, the best speech you will ever hear by Gary Yourofsky. Like I get so emotional even just thinking about it now. But the funny thing, which what I was going to say, was that even after that experience, watching his speech and being so profoundly moved, I didn't go vegan immediately.
Yeah, it's a
You
big
know,
shift for a lot of people.
but it planted the seed, and every time I did eat meat, I felt kind of like, ugh, I don't want to do this, so why am I doing it?
Yeah.
But then it still took time. I went through a period of transition, and you know, I made a lot of mistakes too, and sometimes I consumed things without realizing that they had animal products in them. But I learned, and I went vegan, and I didn't really think much of it in terms of the health aspect.
Yeah.
Because it was so deeply ingrained in me that it doesn't matter what we eat. You can eat whatever you want, and it's not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
Like, how could it not affect you? Putting it in your body, like, how could it not? But that was what I believed, and so I was just pottering along as usual. And I did notice that my menstrual cramps were less. Yeah. But even then, I was like, yeah, it's probably nothing related. Like, it's probably got nothing to do with it.
How could that
just went on with my life. Exactly. And then as scheduled, I went for my next pelvic scan to see how the fibroid was doing, I guess. And they didn't say anything. So I was like, huh? I supposedly had this fibroid. What happened to it? And they were like, what? Your scan doesn't show that you have a fibroid. I was like, what? That was a shock. Yeah. Because I realized at that moment that I was wrong, the doctor was wrong, that the doctors can even be wrong. Like, they were on such a pedestal for me. Doctors know everything, and I just didn't even question. So, but even then, I thought, it's probably nothing. Like, it's probably
some freak occurrence.
I still hadn't. Yeah, it was that deeply ingrained. But I was like, whoopee! I don't need the surgery, so I'm just gonna enjoy my life. And I did. I went on, and I was in Japan at the time, and there were no like designer vegan foods in my little town where I lived. It was in the countryside, like it was a hamlet basically. We didn't even have a cinema.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was eating relatively clean, albeit cooked. I was eating cooked food, but it was really simple, like rice with some vegetables, you know, and
more traditional.
and I was really happy experimenting with creating my own vegan version of the foods that I grew up enjoying. But then I discovered the vegan junk food. Which was such a bad trip.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun while it lasted, but so what happened was that because my town didn't have these designer vegan goodies, I knew that if I just went to Fukuoka, which was like 2 hours away by train, they had everything. They had vegan burgers, vegan cookies, vegan cakes.
The landslide.
And I was out of control. Like, I had to try everything. You know, like anytime I went to a vegan store, like with all the goodies on the shelf, like I had to try one of each. And load up and I even started traveling and basing my itinerary on like Happy Cow restaurant recommendations. Yeah. You know, and restaurant meals, they're a lot of fun, but they have a lot of things in them that are probably not optimal for our bodies. But that is what I did. I even went to Bali, which is like a vegan mecca. Yeah. And I tried all sorts of different, you know, vegan yum-yums. And then I noticed that all of the initial benefits that I'd enjoyed were kind of worsening again. Like my menstrual cramps started to come back a little bit. You know, I started to feel more bloated, and the acne, I didn't notice so much difference. In fact, my skin was pretty bad as a vegan. Horrendous. Like even when I was eating like clean. But eventually, after some, you know, more exposure to the community and seeing that even within the vegan community, there are so many different ways of doing vegan.
Yeah.
And on that trip to Bali, I also went to the raw vegan restaurant. Was it Sayuri? I think there's one in Ubud called.
Yeah, that rings a bell. There's a couple, but that one rings a bell.
Yeah, they're famous for like their lasagna, the raw vegan lasagna. So that was kind of like my first exposure to raw veganism.
Yeah.
Which is probably not representative of, you know.
Well, I mean,
but,
you probably had some, you know, just like a salad or some fruit or something beforehand, but it's very different from that to all of a sudden, you know, like a full-on cuisine
I
fancy.
didn't have a salad. I didn't have a salad.
No salad before?
No. I just went straight for the lasagna.
Yeah.
So
That's what you get when you assume, right?
what? Sorry?
That's what you get when you assume. If I assumed you had a salad, well.
Yeah, so that, you know, because that was my first exposure, I kind of had like a weird idea that raw veganism is very super involved and it's very intricate and
yeah,
it's very difficult to do, and you have to have all this special equipment like a dehydrator and all of that. And so I thought, you know, that it just seems so crazy. But then I started, you know, discovering on YouTube individuals who are living the lifestyle and doing their own really simple versions of it. So once again, just like with veganism, I realized even within raw veganism, there's so many different ways of doing it. And
absolutely.
And then I started to get really immersed, and I just wanted to try it myself because the people that I was following seemed to be so vibrant and so happy and so chill. Like you're so chill.
I'm just tired.
Chill is something that I'm not. I'm not chill.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So that was what got me into the raw foods, and you know, my first attempt, I talk about it in the ebook, but it was not good because I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. I just thought it's raw. What can go wrong? Like I'm just gonna eat everything raw, and you know.
There we go. Perfect.
Exactly. I didn't pay any attention to things like food combining, and I'm not saying that food combining is like law or anything, but I do think there are some basics that can help you to optimize your digestion, and I was ignoring them completely. So you know, I made a lot of mistakes that first time around, and then when I failed, well, I lost my period for one thing, and I panicked, and when I panicked, I just jumped right back into the cooked foods, and not even like the good cooked foods. You know, because once I told myself I can't do this, I can't do the raw foods, I went back to like the worst stuff, like you know, the potato chips and like the pizza, and so yeah, there was that. But then I went back and I, you know, slowly immersed myself again, and I started following people more regularly. People like Jack, Raw Tropical Living, and
he's awesome.
I know there's just something about him that's just so easy for me to follow.
Yeah, and he's even kilter. Like,
yeah, and he makes it so welcoming.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, yeah, so
Jack.
That was where I started, and then I finally did it. I went completely raw. I transitioned the next time because I wanted to do it like, you know, steadily. And so I did, and I haven't looked back since.
That's awesome.
My menstrual cramps vanished. The remaining cramps vanished by the second month. And my skin started to clear up a lot. But my skin was a little bit more of a challenge. So what I discovered much later on was that, there's the food combining as well. And the hydration is what has been key for me.
Yeah.
So I haven't had a breakout since January this year. And that's because I changed something drastically in February. I basically doubled and tripled my water intake.
Yeah. Yeah.
The mistake that I had made was to think that because I'm fully raw, I love that, your bottle.
Yeah. I always start my day with water.
You must hydrate. So I had assumed that because I was eating, high water content foods, meals, that I wouldn't need to drink as much water. So in some ways, I was probably even more dehydrated than I was when I was eating cooked foods, at least conscious of having the need to drink more water. I was kind of lackadaisical once I went raw. I thought, it's all raw, so I can get away with. Yeah, so my skin is doing so much better now, and I'm not afraid anymore. I used to be so terrified because I was like, why am I raw vegan? I'm 100% raw vegan, and I'm still consistently breaking out like almost every day. Yeah. And this year I finally feel like I've cracked the code. So it's the raw food and it's the water as well.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell. No, that's awesome. That's really awesome. I can definitely draw a lot of parallels, not in the menstrual cramps and truthfully not in the acne. Although for me, it's really wild. Almost every single, spot of acne that I've had has stayed on my face. So like if I have one, it just stays, so I've really only had like a couple in my life, but they all stayed. My first one was on the tip of my nose, and it might be hard to see, but
stayed.
Like it just became a scar immediately. Like one acne or like one pimple, it just it'd make a red dot. I'd like try and squeeze it once, and then it'd just stay as a red dot my whole life. Like I have like one there, one there. Yeah, still there. It's wild.
Wow.
So like everyone I get, it just never goes away. But
are you sure
it goes away to an extent, but not completely.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's really, really strange. But
I think because I've had so much acne that basically it's all scarred terrain.
Yeah. In your experience with that, that's kind of been. Oh, go ahead.
Hi, Rochef Yin.
Yeah. In your experience,
she's not a contributor.
Yeah, Yin's amazing. She has a great course in the bundle as well. And I mean, you have 2 books in the bundle, which it really makes sense with your story and all you've went through. The 2 books that you have, which can really specifically help with all the things that you've kind of gone through. The 7 main ways that you can, 7 mistakes raw vegans make and how to avoid making them, and specifically 5 ways to clear acne, right? So 5 top proven ways. So that's really awesome. Yes. Do you, specifically on that, on the acne, and I know this is a very preliminary question, but just because I mentioned it, do you find it is better to leave them alone or to pop them? And if you do pop them, is there anything to do?
That's such a good question, and it's one that's frequently asked.
Yeah.
I think it depends. It depends on the kind of acne.
Yeah.
If it's cystic, which is the kind that I dealt with, even then, I think it depends. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the cystic pimples are so pressurized and extremely painful that you do need to drain it.
Yeah.
And that requires some kind of intervention. But you have to be very careful because if you rupture the deeper levels of the skin, then it could cause permanent scarring.
But I think I did. I think I squeezed it the wrong way and it went in and left a little dot.
Yeah. So I think the best thing is to leave it, but that can be really difficult to do.
Oh yeah.
And I think what people struggle with is not just the physical discomfort of having that thing on your face, but it's also like the social interaction as well. Like when something is right there on your face and it's drawing attention from people and you just want to get rid of it, at least flatten it or something by draining it, for instance. So I think there are a number of factors that come into play with the acne, but as a general rule, probably best to to leave it and let it heal on its own time. But I have to admit, I have drained my own cysts sometimes too, when it's just so extremely pressurized that it just feels like it's gonna. And sometimes they pop on their own. I should mention
For
that
sure.
too.
Yeah. Or you accidentally like brush your face, or it's like, like I had it on my nose and I like just go like this once. It's like, oh, like been waiting 2 or 3 days to
Yeah.
try and let it go naturally, but
Yeah. Even when you don't try not to touch it, but just by washing your face,
yeah.
just by that gentle touch, or just even just being in the shower, can make the pimple burst. So, but natural is always better. Probably leaves the least scarring.
Yeah.
In my experience, that has been true as well.
That's good.
But,
That's good.
yeah.
So how
Thank you
long do you
so much
feel?
for giving me the opportunity to share about this. And
No, of course. It is so true that, like when you hear about raw foods, it just seems like, oh, well, all I got to do is just eat raw food and everything will become perfect. And like, it's just going to be easy. It's just eating raw food, but there is definitely nuance to it. And like you said, there's different ways of doing it. What are maybe a few misconceptions that you've seen that really have made a difference? I mean, hydration is one, and I'd just like to share on that too, just because I think it is very important. There are certain people and certain groups that really promote, all you need to do is just eat fruits and vegetables, and they're hydrating enough. And I totally 100% agree. They really aren't. Your body requires hydration to process fruit sugar. So if you're eating a lot of fruit sugar, it's not as hydrating as you think.
yeah.
But what are some other ones that you think are really huge?
Just to follow up on that, though, I think there's another thing. It's that you're drinking the water to hydrate yourself, no matter what. But it's also to make up for your sort of dietary history.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's relevant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that I was drinking enough water with even just like 2 liters a day, because that's just the recommended. That's what it's like, 8 glasses a day, right? Like which is like 2 liters. And so I thought that was good enough, so to speak, and that was what I was drinking, on the cooked foods even as well. But what I found really made a difference, like I actually noticed the difference, and I know this because I was militant about it. I actually kept a notebook. I have my notebook here. I actually write down, I don't know if you can see, the time of day where I finish each glass. Like, I'm like a fanatic about this, because I had never done it before. And when you've never done something before, how can you know? Unless you track it. You have to track it. So, and what I noticed was that as a result of this little experiment was that when I pushed the water to as much as my kidneys would allow, a healthy pair of kidneys can only process about 800 milliliters to a liter of water per hour. That's what the science says. So I didn't exceed that, but I was basically spending all of my waking hours drinking water and no other beverages. So when I did that, I noticed that my skin really started to get dry, which I thought was crazy, right? Like, how can my skin be dry when I'm drinking this much water? And that's when I realized the difference between dehydrated skin and dry skin. They're completely different. So when it comes to the dry skin, that can be addressed by your fat intake. So that would stimulate the sebum, the skin oils. That's a separate issue from the hydration level of your skin, which is how much water is actually in the cells at the cellular level. So these are things that I thought I had known, but I obviously didn't, because only by upping my water intake did I discover that my skin type is dry. I mean, I had been told this by so many beauticians, but I didn't believe it because my skin was always so oily. But why was my skin oily? It was because it was compensating for the lack of, hydration in my skin. It was dehydrated. So the more dehydrated your skin, the oilier it is. That's the crazy paradoxical thing, which I didn't know. So yeah, what I've really learned is that through this experiment is that dry skin and dehydrated skin are two completely different things. And you need to find a good balance. So, when I upped my water intake and my skin got super dry, that's when I realized it's because I had been consuming no overt fats. Because I had been telling myself that the fats were the evil doers and causing the acne, and it's not the fats. So I had told myself I'm only going to do this until my skin heals, but then my skin was still breaking out. And that's the gift that this experiment has given me, is now I'm clear. I understand that there is a place for fats. It's just that you have to find your Goldilocks zone and not overdo the fats. So that's one thing that I can mention that people should watch out for when they're doing the raw. Like I did it too. Like I went for great lengths of time without overt fats, no overt fats, and you can do it, but for me, I found that having some of the fats, low fat, of course, really helps in terms of keeping the skin healthy and giving it a far better feel and texture.
Makes it easier too, like at least that's what I found. And I think a lot of people,
Enjoyable.
a little more enjoyable, a little bit more variety, a little bit of different nutrient density in certain foods and caloric density. And I think that often people hear like, oh, low fat, and like they start eating fruits and vegetables, and maybe they overdo some fat, so they feel a little bit lethargic, and so they come to the conclusion, well, if low fat's good, no fat's better. And that's I've seen that, and I've definitely seen, just like you said, like dry skin or flaky skin or things like that when completely omitting overts for a long time, which paradoxically I definitely also have seen that omitting overt fats for a period of time can be helpful for people, but for longer periods of time ends up not really being helpful, is what I've seen.
I watched your video on that actually, and I was like, oh, it makes sense, but I was so afraid. I was so afraid of the fats. Like, I really blamed them for the acne. And I think to an extent, it's true, because when I was eating cooked food, for instance, I was eating pretty high fat. And I'm talking about like the non-vegan stuff. When I was eating chicken and beef and all of that. And exactly what you just said. I thought, low fat is good, so low fat must be better.
Now you mentioned fear, and I'm just thinking, with kind of mindset and perspective, how does that come into play with what you've experienced with with health and with diet and the motivation behind why people do things?
This is I have to tell you that this is the most difficult lesson that I've learned, and it's quite recent for me too, because I think the first part of my being raw vegan, like my early days of being raw vegan, I was very fearful. I was very fearful, and it did feel restrictive because I was fearful. Whereas now I can see, thanks to the community as well, seeing other people do it has been really helpful. And when you're in a positive mindset, it really does help. I can't quantify it. It sounds so like unscientific and woo-woo, but just like you were saying earlier, you could be eating the cleanest diet ever, and if your attitude sucks, then you're not going to be at ease. And there is something to be said for being relaxed and being at ease. And you can't be fearful and relaxed at the same time. It just doesn't work that way. So, I think that overcoming the fear and those ideas of restricting is critical. But it takes time. It took me time. It took me time, And it's thanks to following people like Lissa, Raw Food Romance. She talks about self-love a lot. And Jade,
So
who I'll be
important.
speaking to in a bit as well. It's so difficult. You have to find a place within yourself where you actually accept yourself. Only then can you be less fearful. But that's really not easy in my
No.
experience.
Yeah.
And it takes time, so you have to really be gentle with yourself. And,
That sounds like a big key. But when someone can't find themselves, that energy, that space to be gentle when they're hard on themselves, what is a tip you think that, like, I mean, what is one of the main things that you feel like has helped you to become more gentle with yourself?
oh gosh, that's such a big question. I think basically I never stopped searching.
Yeah.
Because I believed it was possible. Because I was seeing people who had healed and they seemed to embody calm that I didn't possess. I think believing that it was possible was what kept me looking. And when I kept looking, I discovered, like-minded people who talk about natural healing. And I don't think Louise Hay is actually vegan, but she talks about these ideas of self-acceptance and self-love. And, the me from like 3 years ago, I would have heard that stuff and been like, what?
Yeah.
That is just
Loser.
like a load of like, I was so
Yeah.
cynical. I was
Yeah.
so, and now that I step back and look at it, that was me hating myself. It wasn't even about me despising this woman who is, like a best-selling whatever. It wasn't even about jealousy or that stuff. It was like me not accepting myself. So, and like I said, this is a recent discovery.
Yeah.
And
I mean, when
you actually, you can't actually tell somebody this. You have to discover it yourself. That's the most painful thing.
That might be one of the biggest challenges that I've seen too, is like experiencing things, and that's kind of the opposite side. It's like experiencing things, feeling the power of diet and lifestyle and perspective, but not being able to just tell people, like, of course you can share, you can share until you go blue in the face, but it's going to be up to them whether or not they try it on and experience it themselves.
I fell down that trap too. I wanted to tell everybody, like, I think I pushed it too far as well, like kind of pushed some people away.
Yeah.
But that was just my enthusiasm. I feel like now I'm in a far better place. And of course, I'm still learning. I've recently discovered meditation. Awesome. Another thing which I would have been like, that's just like a load of baloney. Yeah. And now look at me now. I'm like meditating every day. It really helps. So
that's awesome. It's amazing the mirrors that can come up, right? When we see habits or beliefs, or like people say things, and if they don't resonate or we don't believe that they're true for ourselves, it can just like put up a butting of heads immediately.
Yeah. So the journey continues. I'm still healing. I feel like for the most part, my skin is like the remaining acne is on the way out. Like I seriously want to ask you to touch my face.
Yeah, I'll try. Let's see if we can do it.
Guys, touch my
wait. Oh, hey, that's
touch
nice.
My forehead.
That's good.
It's so soft. And
that's
it's so
smooth.
I'm so pleased, and I've just been focusing on myself now, and I think that's what's really helped. You have to be kind of selfish in a way.
It's a beautiful thing though, right? Like you said, we're taught that, food doesn't really make a difference, and like you got to put other people first, and we're taught a lot of these a lot of things that just don't really ring true in the bigger picture. And I mean, heck, like just like you said, like doctors were on a huge pedestal, and when we're young we put parents on a huge pedestal, and I mean, hey, both are great, they have their place, they are doing hopefully their best, most of the time I think they really are. But I mean, it's not that long ago that I remember, like, it was normal just to throw kids in the back of a station wagon and be drinking beer in the front, and you wouldn't think twice, and the doctors are recommending cigarettes and spraying people with DDT, and like, it's, people are slow learners, and you want to absolutely hope for the best, but we always are consistently learning, individually and collectively, and sometimes it takes major blunders, it takes major side paths to be able to see that contrast and to grow through it, right? And it
Yeah.
sounds like
I,
you've had a lot of
I,
hard times. It's going to help a lot of people.
I feel I just want to add something about the raw
Yeah.
vegan community though. Like, I think that has been so important. It's so
Mm-hmm.
important. And I feel like
Yeah.
the raw vegan community is very unique because we are so few in number.
Yeah.
We certainly don't represent the majority of what most people do.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is diversity even within the raw vegan community. And it's 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 very encouraging to see that. And I've seen your page, for instance. I've seen, people leave not very kind comments,
Yeah.
and I've seen how you've responded. And I remember initially I thought, gosh, like, why? Not even how. How was number one. It was like, how is he so calm? But number two was like, why? Why is he being so calm and so nice to this woman who, or guy, or whoever it was, who was kind of attacking and not being respectful to you at all? And I was like, why? And again, that's a reflection on me, right? Because I was telling myself, if I were Chris, I would show her place. I would, give her the facts and say what's what. And that was
Yeah.
not what you did or what you do. And I think that can be very kind of confusing for a beginner. It was for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But in the long term, I understand it now. Like, you have to have, it's not so much the knowledge or the information, but it's the vibration. It's one of those other things that I used to think was like a load of crap, vibration. It
Yeah.
really is about resonating and having the right energy. It's not so much the content of what you say, but the energy with which you communicate with people that brings them to you. And if they're not at the same frequency, then they'll probably just leave you alone anyway and go off and cause mischief somewhere else. But so I wanted to thank you. I wanted to thank you for doing what you do and,
Such a pleasure.
sharing
Absolutely.
it.
I mean, I think it's important to note, like, just like you said in your experience, when you were in a place where you didn't believe what other people were saying, whether it was Louise Hayes or other people, and it would spark something in you because that wasn't your truth. I think that's been one of the big perspective shifts for me that has allowed me to stay a little calmer in those situations. Albeit sometimes I think everything can have its time and place. And if I see someone straight trolling, I might troll back, but if I can
I
tell, and
pay
I
to
mean,
see that.
yeah, you probably will. I'm feeling the troll back kind of coming out of me a little bit more lately, but really what I think is, like, one, when you get into raw food, you become a little more sensitive to a lot of different things, and one of those things I notice is intuition and vibe, energy. And again, I know some people that would just trigger just hearing me say that, but hey, I'm just speaking my truth. And if if I really shift the perspective and look at what they're feeling and why they're saying these things, a lot of times, just like we talked about before, they're coming from a place of hurt. They're coming from a place of fear. They're coming from a place of anger, and I don't want to fuel that. People often want to be kept in their hoopties, and Twitter and all these other places basically are just like gasoline for fire. And I'd rather offer some salve and a little bit of understanding, because sometimes people just they have no understanding for themselves, and sometimes it takes an outside source to be able to wake that up a little bit.
Yeah. But thank you for being an upstanding pillar of the community, and also for arranging the bundle. This is already the third time.
It is. It's
Imagine that.
awesome. And I mean, I tell you, Alyssa and I, we had a dream, and what it was to just bring people even more together into creation, into spreading this awesome raw glow, and, just helping heal the world one person at a time. And that can sound dramatic, but I think just like you've experienced, there is something magical about simplicity and about Mother Nature and her gifts to us, and, taking a truly holistic approach. And that's really what we want to showcase, and we want to showcase the diversity and the community, and like all the different angles and all the different modalities, because this bundle is, of course, it's low fat raw food. That's kind of the focus, right? Not no fat. It's low fat. We're
Not
not afraid of fats, but
Yes. No
but
longer afraid.
also, just like you're talking about, like mindset and physical practices, whether that's breath work or yoga or mindfulness, and all of these things are so important in the bigger health picture, just like you've experienced. And it's really only through experiencing those yourself and being in the depths and climbing out that you're going to have those insights to share with people, and it can make people's journey a lot easier, right?
Yeah, I've definitely been inspired by those before me. Although, like you just said, you do have to experience it for yourself. But seeing other people talk about it and sharing about it at least puts those things on the map, so that you have an
Yeah,
awareness that it's possible.
yeah,
So that's what the community
absolutely.
has given me.
That's awesome. So what's next for Jung Soo? What do you got going on here?
That's such a great question. And I think right now I'm just enjoying the now. Like, I
Oh,
had been running my whole life and just worrying about the future and worrying about this and that. And
yeah,
now I'm just like, I'm learning to stop, and I'm doing so much of nothing these days.
yeah. I love
And
nothing. I love
it's like,
nothing.
I love nothing too, but
I love
you can't
nothing.
afford to. You're very busy
Yeah.
arranging all of this. Yeah, but what's
Takes a
coming up?
community.
I do think I want. I think, like you actually originally wanted to create a course, didn't you, as well?
I did. That was the
Yeah,
plan,
me
and
too.
then life was just like, nope, that's not happening.
Next time we'll do it. Next
Next time.
time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the plan, is definitely next time. And for me, I mean, as we mentioned, you have your two books in there, the 7 mistakes raw vegans make and how to avoid making them, as well as the 5 proven ways to clear acne from each of 9 former acne sufferers, which is really cool because it goes really deep into the personal experience and shows the pictures before and after, and it's like real transformation. People sometimes doubt the transformations people have, but uh, it's awesome that those are showcased and the testimonials are there. My book is a 21-day summer meal plan, and the reason I'm bringing that up, not only to give a plug and to let everyone know to go grab the bundle from Jung Soo on her page or in the pinned comment here to give her some love and support, um, but also because really when I was going to make that course, I was like, okay, I'm going to make a course. I'm going to make a food-based course, like a cuisine kind of chef-based course. And I was going through all the different ones that I wanted, because I've been dreaming of making these for a while, actually. The season wasn't right. The season wasn't right for the food I wanted to make, and I wanted to make it with really high quality specific foods for that cuisine. And I was like, okay, well, what am I going to make? I don't want to just like compromise and make what I'm not really excited to do. And I was like, well, season, like I have 1 season left of my meal plans, and it's been a long-term goal now, I guess about 3 years, to make my seasonal meal plans. And this is my last of 4. So it's the summer meal plan, and I've already previously created the spring, winter,
For
and
meal
fall.
plan. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but none of them are on my site yet. I figured I'd wait until I had all 4 done, and then I'll put them on my site. But it's just 3 of the 36 books and courses that are in there. And some people did go completely in and made amazing courses. You mentioned Lissa and her cravings course, which is really in depth. And we got Nate, he's got an amazing course all about sprouts and krauts. And we got the group book, and we got Chef Yin has her tarts and pies. I always say tars. It's tarts and pies course. And you know, there's just so much value in there that I encourage everyone just to check it out at least. And even if you decide the bundle isn't for you, click the top right to all the lives. And just like today with Jung Soo, we're going into our individual stories and into tips and into food demos and into just topics and perspective shifts that people can take on and get benefit from without ever spending a dime. Because that's what we're about here, is we want to help people no matter how we can. And just definitely encourage everyone to check it out at the very least.
Yes, guys, get the bundle. It only lasts until the 11th of April, midnight Pacific
Yeah.
time. So run and get it while you can. And
Get that
Chris,
running start.
to me, you'll always be the raw vegan pizza dude.
I'm the pizza man.
Pizza dude.
Yeah.
What?
I'm the pizza
What?
man. I'm the pizza dude. My
Pizza
nephew
man. Yeah,
for
that's right. The pizza dude.
for a year, and it's kind of funny. I don't know, maybe it's prophetic, but for a year, he just always said pizza man. Like he just like is always like pizza man, what's up, pizza man? It's before I had my book, but and it wasn't that he was saying it to me, but he just often said pizza man, and hey, it stuck for me, I guess. Oh, Raw Chef Yin just made JD Raw's curried eggs. They're so good. That sounds pretty amazing. JD Raw has some amazing recipes. She has her Dehydrator Delights book. I'm pricing the title partially wrong, but I know it's a dehydrator-based fancy recipe book. And Raw Chef Yin always inspires me by making so many of the recipes and showcasing everyone's work and, you know, making things look very, very beautiful. I kind of wish that I was around and I could, you know, benefit from all of her chef creations. You know, it's funny. It's funny sometimes when you're a chef, you're like, I kind of wish I had a chef, you know?
Yeah, life is always better with good food. That is for sure.
Yeah,
The thing I love about Raw Chef Yin though is that she raw veganizes Asian food, which is so rare. It is so rare to find raw vegan Asian cuisine.
If I may actually say something about that, because actually I was talking to Raw Chef Yin about this, and I think it's true, especially like really traditional stuff, you know, like or maybe even sometimes traditional and maybe some. Yeah, well, yeah, you get pad thai, and yeah, a lot of people make some Asian dishes, but what I've learned is they're definitely not very authentic, you know. And I'm guilty of it. I'll admit I've probably made 3 versions of pad thai. Maybe one is pretty close-ish, kind of, but yeah, it's
Raw Chef Yin wants to have a private chef. You guys can chef for each other.
No, we need to get another one. We need to get an opposite one or someone else. Oh, well, is there anything that you'd like to leave everyone with, or, you know, one last tip for extra self-love, or, you know, anything that you feel you'd like to leave us with today?
I'd just like to thank everyone who joined us today for doing so, and I just wish for everyone to, you know, enjoy optimal health and find something that works for you, because I do think that you do have to develop your own version of the lifestyle and make it work for you. At the end of the day, it's about you. It's not about what anybody else is doing. So, and I enjoy the lifestyle so much, and that's what I do, why I do what I do. And yeah, I just wish for everyone to enjoy, you know, feeling good in their bodies and feeling good about themselves and just be happy. And yeah, that's all there is.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think that's a beautiful thing, and being at ease and allowing yourself to experience what you experience and finding your balance and not worrying about what other people are thinking or doing. And I think all of that is important, you know. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Jung Soo. Really appreciate you and Bear with Girl on Instagram. And I think for the thumbnail, I'm gonna have to just use a picture of you and your bear because it's just way too cute. How long have you had Bear?
Since 2015 or so. A long time.
Yeah.
Gift. Yeah.
Hey Bear.
Very healing.
Does Bear have any secrets that they want to share?
Oh, Bear knows everything about me. I tell him everything.
Oh, Bear. You keep those secrets safe and help her out.
He will. He does. Thank you, Chris. That was
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, thank you again. Thank you for everything you bring. I love your energy and all you bring into the bundle and to all the lives. Always have a fun time connecting and talking, and excited for a time where hopefully we can enjoy some sweet, juicy food and some sun and some community together. And it's been definitely been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Such a pleasure. Thanks everyone for joining us here. And again, check out the bundle in Jung Soo's link or in the comment that's pinned here if you're just about to head out. And if you're watching the replay, thanks for enjoying us the whole time. We've really enjoyed being here with you. So have an awesome day. Actually, probably an awesome day. You got the afternoon ahead of you.
Have a good rest, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. Much love.
All right. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, guys.
Check out the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle. It's only here for a limited time.
Ooh, don't forget to check out my raw recipes playlist in the top left, the video just for you in the top right, subscribe for more videos in the bottom right, and get your 3 free ebooks in the bottom left. Grab your free raw recipe app available on iPhone and Android with over 100 free raw recipes, common fruit and vegetable calorie breakdown, frickin' raw and food combining chart, shopping cart function, and so much more.